Thank you, Rabbi Wein. I stand here tonight, not really because of my own merit, but I would say more in the merit of my family, but even more so in the merit of the Kehillah. I feel that I stand here as a representative of the community of Kehillat Beit Knesset Hanassi here in Shari Chesed, which is really the entire Shari Chesed community, which Rabbi Eitiel Goldwicht had such a strong effect on. You know, we came here 4 years ago. So we had, I would say, a brief 2 years, but a very, very warm relationship during those 2 years. Then Rabbi Eitiel Goldwicht moved back to the United States till a year ago that she left us alone here in this world. But she left a legacy behind. A legacy for us to remember and for us to carry on. And I believe that's what tonight is all about. Tonight is really remembering the legacy of Rabbi Eitiel Goldwicht, Rabbi Eitiel Cohen, understanding what a great lady she was and how we can maybe learn from who she was so that we can maybe be a little bit like who she was. You know, we find ourselves in the Parshios of Sefer Shmos. As a kid, I always thought the heroes of Sefer Shmos were Moshe and Aaron, standing there in front of Paro and saying, "Let my people go." But when you grow up and you look at the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, look into the Psukim, you realize that the real heroes of Sefer Shmos, the real heroes of the Geula coming out of exile, were really the women. Behind everything, it was really, before even Moshe was born, the real rebellion against Paro started with his mother and his older sister. That Paro gives them a direct decree, and they say, "We're not going to listen, and we will let the children live." We even find that his older sister Miriam, she stands up in front of her father. Her father is the Gadol Hador, and he's leading the generation in his actions, and he decides, because the decrees are so hard, and the Jewish people are going through such a hard time, that he's going to separate from his wife. And his little girl tells him, "Abba, Shelcha kasha mishel Paro, your Gzera is worse." And he listens. And then it continues also, Batya bas Paro. She rebels her father and saves the Jewish baby. But it's not just these leaders, it was the entire Jewish women. When the men gave up hope, it was the women who went out into the fields, who were able to embark on them a whole new sense of hope. We're going to get out of here someday. And even when they leave Mitzrayim and we're about to get the Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, who do you speak to first? Kol Tomar Beis Yaakov. First speak to the women. It was the women who really took Bnei Yisrael out of Mitzrayim, and I believe that was the power of Rabbi Eitiel Goldwicht as well. She was a leader. Anyone who knew her, she was royalty. She was all malchus, the way she carried herself. She understood she's a part of a legacy. She was a daughter. She was a wife. She was a mother. She always spoke about her family. She always cared about the Kavod Hatorah, the Rav's schedule, and making sure that everything will be in the right way. She was a real Jewish woman leader. And we all saw that. When we first came into the community, she's the one who really, I would say, convinced my wife and convinced us that this is our place for us. It wasn't a simple decision. A young couple to move in. But when she met Ariella, my wife, she took her in, and with a hug, and with a smile. And you saw that she cared. You saw her covered Hatorah. And like Miriam, in Yetzias Mitzrayim, she knew also how to question, how to stand up to the Rabbanim, to say what should be the right thing. Now once I heard her, she said, "You know, this, maybe don't tell this to the Rabbi." She did behind his back, for his good. Always caring for them. But I think her real greatness was even more. And just like the Emos in Yetzias Mitzrayim, Miriam and Yocheved, what were their names? How are we introduced to them for the first time in the Torah? What are they called?
Shifra and Pua.
Shifra and Pua. What's Shifra? Shemeshaperet et avla, they make the child better. Pua is that they make noises to the child. Putzi, mutzi. They take care of this is the names that you give to the great leaders who led the rebellion and the revolution of leaving Mitzrayim. Their name is that they took care of the baby. The Mefarshim explains something amazing. When you meet someone who's famous, who is a celebrity, a big speaker, a rebbitzin, where do we judge their greatness? It's not in the way they speak to the masses or how famous they are. You know when we think that a celebrity is somebody who's really special, or a rabbi, somebody who's great is really special? When we see how they act with the individual, how they take care of that little boy, how they give a good word to somebody else. The godless of Miriam and Yocheved wasn't just that they led the revolution, but within all of that, they knew how to take care of every single child. Are all his needs needed? I think that was the specialty of Rebbitzin Wein. The Rebbitzin that we knew, our Rebbitzin. She had such royalty. When she came in, there was a light that came into the room, but she had such humility. She was so humble to take care of each person. How are you? How's your kid? She would remember. She would give a little gift. Give this to your little boy. He will appreciate it. I think that's the secret of a Jewish mother, of a Jewish Rebbitzin like we had. To be able to look at the big picture, but to also to give a call. Did the Rav eat his breakfast before he left the house? To look out for the little details. I think that is the legacy that the Rebbitzin Wein left for us. Number one, looking out for Klal Yisrael, looking out for the Kehillah, but while doing it, looking out for each individual, not leaving any child behind, not leaving any member behind. May we be zocheh to go in her footsteps, to really feel that we're part of the greater Kehillah, the greater Am Yisrael, to recognize, like she always spoke about, that we're part of a legacy. We come from somewhere. She always spoke about her mishpacha, her family. She spoke about her children, how they're continuing it. She took so much pride in it. That we should realize that we come from a legacy of Am Yisrael, and that we're continuing. And within that, to look out for every single individual, to make sure that they have what they need. If we're able to balance those two things together, I believe Rebbitzin Wein will be smiling.